the government has announced a slew of measures to revive the fortunes of the sugar mills. Now, it has offered interest-free credit and also doubled the ethanol component in auto fuels to 10%. Here's the Agricultural Minister Sharad Pawar talking about it.
There was demand that ethanol blending in petroleum product, which is there up to 5% today, it should be raised to 10%. That has been accepted by this group, and for smooth implementation of this program, it was recommended Inter-Department Committee to coordinate oil companies, OMCs, and sugar mill to decide by next week the total interest will be 12%, and out of that interest subvention, 12% will be provided, 7% from Sugar Development Fund, and 5% from government.
किसान को कीमत गन्ने की मिले और चीनी मिलें बंद न हो और चीनी मिलें चलती रहें, ये रास्ता निकालना केंद्र सरकार की भी जिम्मेदारी है और उत्तर प्रदेश की सरकार को जहां जिस हिसाब से रियायत देनी है, जो मदद करनी है, वो कर रही है सरकार। जो गन्ने वाला है उसके ऊपर संकट न आए और चीनी मिलों का भी चलना जल्दी शुरू हो। जो प्रदेश स्तर पे रियायत दे सकते थे वो हम लोगों ने दी।
UP is indeed very important because remember the entire issue erupted in the state of UP with sugar mills taking a stand that they would stop crushing. But of course that is coming to some sort of a solution, it seems. Let's go across to Sriram Iyer, who's been tracking the story very closely to understand what it really means. Sriram, what are the stops announced first of all, and how significant are they to help the ailing companies?
The big takeaway for sugar mills from today's meeting of the Empowered Group of Ministers is a recommendation to the Cabinet to give out interest-free loans to these sugar mills who've been suffering due to high state-administered price of sugar cane. Now 7,200 crores is what the government is estimating that the banks will have to disburse to these sugar mills. The interest rate on that is about 12%, but part of that will be borne by the Sugar Development Fund, which has been created from the profits of the sugar mills, and the remaining will be borne by the centre. Ethanol blending has been increased from 5% to 10%, but the implementation of that is still a challenge that the government will have to work. Now, so the EGOM has recommended that the sugar mills and the oil marketing companies sit together and figure out a modality on how this could be implemented at the earliest. And beyond that, a minor relief in terms of restructuring of existing loans that the EGOM has recommended. Now, the RBI will take a final view on that matter, and the Cabinet will also have to approve it in between. So that's another takeaway for the sugar mills. But all of this seems to be a short-term fix, and more importantly, it is all aimed at sort of boosting the expectation of sugar prices, which have been really reeling at very low levels compared to last year. In order to push the expectation of sugar prices and eventually push the prices up as well, these recommendations are aimed at that. But the long-term fix in terms of implementing the Rangarajan Committee recommendations, particularly in the state of UP, there really seems to be no breakthrough, because the UP CM, who was present at the meeting today, really continued with his rhetoric of backing the farmers' cause, though he did mention that the concerns of the sugar mills are also on priority. But at this stage, that long-term fix is what the sugar mills were seeking for. There really seems to be no breakthrough on that.
Thanks, Sriram. Let's go straight across to Ajit Singh, also making a comment on the sugar crisis and the SOPs announced today.
No, Sharad Pawar must have press में बोल दिया होगा उन्होंने.
But from your side, so we'd like to know, sir, what are the recommendations given by?
देखिए, मैंने प्रधानमंत्री को चिट्ठी लिखी थी. See, I wrote to Prime Minister about 4 weeks ago. These are the problems of sugarcane farmers. So he formed a committee, informal group of ministers. This was the second meeting, and we had called the chief ministers also in this meeting. So what was decided was that the banks should be asked to give loan total 7,200 crores all over India. So, and the mills will use that money to pay the last year's dues, which is 2,300 crores today. And the interest for that loan will be paid some by the central government and some by the development fund, sugar development fund.
So you think this will be able to solve the problem?
No, that at least the last UP there are 2,300 crores due from last year, and our this village, the whole economic situation depends on the sugarcane. If they get money for sugarcane, then only they go to the market and buy, daily needs and all that. So that was one very important thing. There are many other decisions taken. We'll recommend it to the cabinet for cabinet to accept it.
Cool. Thank you, sir.